On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Times are challenging, to say the very least, right now in this world. We've got one side that's literally trying to remove God from the Pledge of Allegiance, that's trying to keep us out of our halls of worship, trying to keep us from being able to come together and socially interact, which is what we are. We are spiritual, connected beings that have free will. And this is something that doesn't work well with the deep state. Former Nuncio to the United States, this Carlo Maria Vigano, has shared with us on some of the posts in the past, open letters to the United States or to Donald Trump. We've got another one of those notes, and I think it's important to point out that we really are at a very important part of our history where we need to seriously think about what are the two options before us. And to a large extent, one option is very control-based, more lockdowns. They want to be able to mold society in their image and likeness that they've decided. And the other choice really is about freedom. The other choice really is about what we were given as creatures of God. And that's the freedom of speech, the freedom of communication, the freedom of expression, the freedom to go outside and hug one another. There are very different paths forward. Now, they can mire it and mar it and tar it and feather it however they want. But the actual reality of truth is shining through, and people are beginning to see this. And of course, 4 days before the election, this is an opportune time to bring up this open letter. And I thought I would just do a specific show on this alone. It's a little lengthy, but it's really good, I think. And I didn't necessarily want to try to tie this in with some other awesome message that I'm trying to send, but to let this message stand on its own, to let this prayer that you and I are going to share stand on its own, because right now is a time where we need to come together, and we need to love one another, and we need to learn how to put down our frustrations and pick up our ability to talk to one another openly again. Now, I will say that typically one side seems a lot more open to communication, and the other side seems to put up walls and resistance and say that's not true, that's made up information or whatever. But the reality of it is, and facts are coming out, it seems that there's more cover going on for some of these people than actually whether the information's made up or not. It actually looks like a cover. And the cover-up's what always gets you. So anyways, from the words of this gentleman, Carlo Maria Vigano, the open letter. Mr. President, allow me to address you at this hour in which the fate of the whole world is being threatened by a global conspiracy against God and humanity. I write to you as an archbishop, as a successor of the apostles, as the former Apostolic Nuncio to the United States of America. I am writing to you in the midst of the silence of both civil and religious authorities. May you accept these words of mine as the voice of one crying out in the desert, from John chapter 1, verse 23. As I said when I wrote my letter to you in June, this historic moment sees the forces of evil aligned in a battle without quarter against the forces of good, forces of evil that appear powerful and organized as they oppose the children of light, who are disoriented and disorganized, abounded by their temporal and spiritual leaders. Daily we sense the attacks of multiplying of those who want to destroy the very basis of society, the natural family, respect for human life, love of country, freedom of education and business. We see heads of nations and religious leaders pandering to this suicide of Western culture and its Christian soul, while the fundamental rights of citizens and believers are denied in the name of a health emergency that is revealing itself more and more fully as instrumental to the establishment of an inhuman, faceless tyranny. A global plan called the Great Reset is underway. Its architect is a global elite that wants to subdue all of humanity, imposing coercive measures with which to drastically limit individual freedoms and those of an entire populations. In several nations, this plan has already been approved and financed. In others, it is still at an early stage. Behind the world leaders who are accomplices and executors of this infernal project, there are unscrupulous characters who finance the World Economic Forum and Event 201, promoting their agenda. The purpose of the Great Reset is the imposition of a health dictatorship aiming in the imposition of the liberticidal measures, hidden behind the tempting promises of ensuring a universal income and canceling individual debt. The price of these concessions from the International Monetary Fund will be the renunciation of private property and adherence to a program of vaccination against COVID-19 and COVID-21 promoted by Bill Gates with the collaboration of the main pharmaceutical groups. Beyond the enormous economical interests that motivate the promoters of the Great Reset, the imposition of the vaccination will be accompanied by the requirement of a health passport and a digital ID, with the consequent contact tracing of the population of the entire world. Those who do not accept these measures will be confined in detention camps or placed under house arrest, and all their assets will be confiscated. Mr. President, I imagine that you are already aware that in some countries the Great Reset will be activated between the end of this year and the first trimester of 2021. For this purpose, further lockdowns are planned, which will be officially justified by a supposed second and third wave of the pandemic. You are well aware of the means that have been deployed to sow panic and legitimize draconian limitations on individual liberties, artfully provoking a worldwide economic crisis. In the intentions of its architects, this crisis will serve to make the recourse of nations to the Great Reset irreversible, therefore giving the final blow to a world whose existence in very memory they want to completely cancel. But this world, Mr. President, includes people, affections, institutions, faith, culture, tradition, and ideals. People and values that do not act like automatons, who do not obey like machines because they are endowed with a soul and a heart, because they are tied together by a spiritual bond that draws its strength from above. From that God that our adversaries want to challenge, just as Lucifer did at the beginning of times with his non-servium. Many people, as well know, are annoyed by this reference to the clash between good and evil and the use of apocalyptic overtones, which according to them exasperates spirit and sharpens division. It is not surprising that the enemy is angered at being discovered just when he believes he has reached the citadel he seeks to conquer undisturbed. What is surprising, however, is that there is no one to sound the alarm. The reaction of the deep state to those who denounce its plan is broken and incoherent, but understandable. Just when the complicity of the mainstream media had succeeded in making this transition to the new world almost painless and unnoticed, all sorts of deceptions, scandals, and crimes are coming to light. Until a few months ago, it was easy to smear as conspiracy theorists those who denounced the terrible plans, which we now see being carried out down to the smallest detail. No one, up until last Friday, could ever have thought that in all of the cities, citizens would be arrested simply for wanting to walk down the street, to breathe, to want to keep their businesses open, to want to go to church on Sunday. Yet now, it is happening all around the world. Even in picture postcards, Italy, that many Americans consider to be a small, enchanted country, with its ancient monuments, its churches, its charming cities, its characteristic villages. And while the politicians are barricaded inside their palaces, promulgating decrees like Persian satraps, businesses are failing, shops are closing, and people are prevented from living, traveling, working, and praying. The disastrous psychological consequences of this operation are already being seen, beginning with the suicide of desperate entrepreneurs, of our children segregated from friends and classmates, told to follow their classes while sitting at home alone in front of computers. In sacred scriptures, St. Paul speaks to us of those who oppose the manifestation of the mystery of iniquity, the kathekon. In the religious sphere, this obstacle to evil is the church, and in particular the papacy. In the political sphere, in those who impede the establishment of the New World Order. As it is now clear, the one who occupies the chair of Peter has betrayed his role from the very beginning in order to defend and promote the globalist ideology supporting the agenda of the deep church, who chose him from its ranks. Mr. President, you have clearly stated that you want to defend the nation, one nation under God, fundamental liberties and non-negotiable values that are denied and fought against today. It is you, dear President, who are the ones who opposes. The deep state, the final assault of the children of darkness. For this reason, it is necessary that all people of good will be persuaded of the epochal importance of the imminent election, not so much for the sake of this or that political program, but because of the general inspiration of your action that best embodies, in this particular historical context, the world or the world which they want to cancel by means of the lockdown. Your adversary is also our adversary. It is the enemy of the human race, he who is a murderer from the beginning, from John chapter 8, verse 44. Around you are gathered with faith and courage those who consider you the final garrison against the world dictatorship. The alternative is to vote for a person who is manipulated by the deep state, gravely compromised by scandals and corruption, who will do to the United States what Jorge Mario Bergoglio is doing to the church, Prime Minister Conte in Italy, President Macron in France, Prime Minister Sanchez in Spain, and so on. The blackmailable nature of Joe Biden, just like that of the prelates of the Vatican's magic circle, will expose him to be used unscrupulously, allowing illegitimate powers to interfere in both domestic policies as well as international balances. It is obvious that those who manipulate him already have someone worse than him ready, and whom they will replace him as soon as the opportunity arises. And yet, in the midst of this bleak picture, this apparently unstoppable advance of the invisible enemy, an element of hope emerges. The adversary does not know how to love, and it does not understand that it is not enough to assure a universal income or to cancel mortgages in order to subjugate the masses and convince them to be branded like cattle. This people, which for too long has endured the abuses of a hateful and tyrannical power, is rediscovering that it has a soul. It is understanding that it is not willing to exchange its freedom for the homogenization and cancelization of its identity. It is beginning to understand the value of familial and social ties, of the bonds of faith and culture that unite honest people. This great reset is destined to fail because those who plan to do it do not understand that there are still people ready to take to the streets to defend their rights, to protect their loved ones, to give a future to their children and grandchildren. The leveling inhumanity of the globalist project will shatter miserably in the face of the firm and courageous opposition of the children of light. The enemy has Satan on its side, he who only knows how to hate. But on our side, we have the Lord Almighty, the God of armies arrayed for battle, and most holy Virgin who will crush the head of the ancient serpent. It is God for us who can be against. If God is for us, who can be against us? From Romans chapter 8, verse 31. Mr. President, you are well aware that in this crucial hour, the United States of America is considered the defending wall against which the war declared by the advocates of globalism has been unleashed. Place your trust in the Lord. Strengthened by the words of the Apostle Paul, I can do all things in him who strengthens me. Through the Philippians, I believe, chapter 4, verse 13. To be an instrument of divine providence is a great responsibility, for which you will certainly receive all the graces of state that you need, since they are being fervently implored for you by the many people who will support you with their prayers. With this heavenly hope and the assurance of my prayer for you, for the First Lady, and for your collaborators, with all my heart, I send you my blessings. God bless the United States. And seriously, God bless the United States of America. We need to remember right now, who are the ones that hate, and who are the ones that love, and who want to come to the table and talk, and who throws up the wall and says, no, no, no. Look to see where times are right now, and look to see what you're supporting. Are you supporting a larger world? Are you supporting a world that allows more people to come together and to love one another? Are you allowing us to unite and grow? Or are you saying that someone is dividing us, that something is divisive by their very nature, and because of their triggering to you, you keep finding yourself pushing people at arm's length? Now is a time for us to love, to unite, to be together, and to understand the most important thing. Even the people on the dark are still children of God. And the light is shining down from the heavens onto all of humanity. And the darkness that has been there for so long is now being shown to us. And some are waking at slower paces than others. The fact of the matter is, the truth is showing through. How this election plays out, we will see. Your role in the election is certainly crucial. This is your way to fight. This is your voice to stand against the many. And this is something that I think all of us have agreed to do, that all of us have chosen to be here at this time, that God has chosen to have us stand before Him at this time, to have this time in history where we are going to oppose the evil and dark forces that are against us right now. I wish the best to each and every one of you. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this United States of America. God bless you, Donald Trump. God bless your wife. And God bless everybody on this planet. We need to come together. We need to stop the division. And we need to realize that through God, through our hearts, through love, we will find a solution to bring us back together. Love always wins. More shows coming. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.